Today on CityCast Nashville, it's time for our Friday News Roundup. We always like to end the week with the biggest news stories in town and break them down for you with journalists, comedians, and anybody else we can convince to come on the show. Today, I'm joined by District 25 Metro Council member Jeff Prepty, as well as our executive producer, Whitney Pasterek. Together, we discuss a lot of acronyms, starting with the fact that Jeff is a former ACLU lawyer. We'll get his take on this week's council meeting, where MNPD's proposed contract with a surveillance tech company called FUSUS got deferred again. We'll also talk about the CRB, which stands for Community Review Board, and the recent passing of their MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with the MNPD. Finally, we chat about the mayor's $527 million CSP, also known as the Capital Spending Plan for 2025. It's Friday, November 22nd. I'm your host, Marie Cecil Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. A whole lot of people came to Tuesday's Metro Council meeting to give comment about the proposed contract between the Metro Nashville Police Department and FUSUS, a surveillance tech company. During the public comment period on the bill, 3 people spoke in favor and about 40 spoke in opposition. Jeff, you were obviously at the meeting. What were your observations during public comment?
What we've consistently seen during public comment on some of these hot button issues is that our community shows up, and they often say showing up is half the battle. I'm incredibly thankful and proud of each and every single members of our community who took the time out of their schedule to show up at 6:30 on a Tuesday evening to stand and wait in line and give council their feedback and perspective. Because truly, I believe that one of our most important roles is making sure that the decisions that we're making are reflective of the needs and the voices of the people that we represent. I believe it was an incredible exercise in democracy, especially in a time where a lot of people are incredibly discouraged by our politics on the national level.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great perspective, Jeff. I was talking to my friends at dinner about that the other night, that if everything feels out of control, the one thing we do know where our voice will be heard is right here at home. We have Metro Council representation. We have a mayor who is incredibly accessible in terms of sharing your opinions. We've got so many meetings and commissions and boards where people can show up and have a voice. And so, yeah, I was super encouraged by the turnout. But to be clear, it was almost all people saying, we don't want FUSUS.
Correct. Yeah. So the vast majority of people who came before council were vehemently opposed to the extension of the contract for FUSUS with MNPD. And I think that's reflective of the work that is being done by our community to actually research, to look into these issues, to see how it's going to affect not only them, but some of the most vulnerable folks in our community. Really a lot of concerns around what this second Trump administration is going to mean for state preemption and the co-optation of local governments and police authorities. So it's a very real concern that needs to be addressed.
I'm going to go off script, Whitney. I just want to read. I know. Ooh, I'm getting crazy here. I saw this posted on Instagram from Turk. They posted, "We know that our communities work best when everyone feels safe, but let's be clear, public safety and increased surveillance do not mean the same thing. FUSUS surveillance software would make it easier to harm our city's most vulnerable immigrants and refugees, religious minorities, LGBTQ folks, our unhoused neighbors, and many already over-policed communities. Surveillance technology is not neutral and often perpetuates systemic inequities without robust safeguards." Jeff, what are your thoughts on what I just read?
That quote sort of hits the nail right on the head. And one of the things that I've consistently talked about, even before being on council, is how we are talking and thinking about public safety. Yes, we should absolutely do what we need to solve and prosecute crime. But by the time you have to show up into a courtroom, it's too late. You've already been victimized. What I want to do, and what a lot of us on council want to do, is prevent you from even having to show up in court in the first place, prevent you from being a victim of criminalized activity. So investing in those things that improve our communities, improve people's lives, and keep anybody from having to be in court.
And you are also a former staff attorney for the ACLU?
Yes, so I spent 3 years as a public defender here in Nashville, and 2 years as staff attorney for the ACLU of Tennessee.
So what's your stance on FUSUS from a civil rights perspective?
So I have grave First and Fourth Amendment concerns with the utilization of these kinds of technologies, and specifically with surveillance in general. As it relates to the First Amendment, what I have consistently seen is that cities, not only just across the nation, but across the state as well, when they have a broad surveillance apparatus, what tends to happen is they will surveil and track and create files on activists within their city, well-known entities, which is a First Amendment violation. Likewise, as it relates to the Fourth Amendment, FUSUS has the ability to be integrated with AI technology, facial recognition, potentially lip reading technology. So if I'm sitting in my car having a private conversation and I'm able to be visible on camera, that is something that gives me grave concern. And ensuring that there are safeguards that protect people's constitutional rights and civil liberties is something that is always top of mind for me.
So after all that passionate public comment, as well as a fairly robust discussion from you and some of your council colleagues on the floor, this bill ended up getting deferred again and will return on December 3rd at the next council meeting. Jeff, you were against the deferral. Why?
Part of the reason why there was a deferral brought up was because a lot of the feedback that was received and the potential to add amendments to this legislation. And like I said on the council floor, the issues that have persisted with this program are not new. They're not something that just came to the forefront and started to exist on Monday. They've been persistent. It's the same things that we've been saying since council learned of the FUSUS program back in February. What we have received a clear message for is that this is something that our community doesn't want, doesn't need, and does pose a significant risk to the civil liberties of the most vulnerable folks in our city. And so, though I respect the administration and I'm thankful for them being willing to do some additional work, and I am looking forward to seeing what they produce between now and next council meeting, I was standing on my principles, standing on my values, and knowing that this is something that I couldn't support.
So is there anything positive about the potential of this FUSUS technology at all, in your opinion?
I think that there are positives, but with all things, you've got to weigh the positives and the negatives. What Councilmember Sepulveda pointed out on the floor is even without the use of FUSUS, all of our indications are that our crime numbers are down. So MNPD is doing a good job at enforcing our laws and keeping us safe. And I want to recognize that we ask MNPD to do a lot. They are doing the best with what they have at their disposal, and they're doing a pretty good job with things right now. One thing that I will say is consistently during committee, during our tour of the FUSUS facility and on the council floor, we asked time and time again, what is the data? What are the metrics? What are the benefits that MNPD saw during the implementation of this before this term? And those questions were not able to be answered. So I think that it's not just council who can't see the benefits, that can't lay out exactly how this will affect law enforcement within our city. Our own law enforcement agency doesn't have those answers for us.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. What can people do right now to make their voice heard on this matter before the next council meeting?
So there are a couple of things that folks can do. And what I always encourage people to do is to continue to have these conversations. Reach out to your council member. One thing that I'll also commend MNPD on is that they are always willing to allow community members to come out and tour the facility. So at the 600 Murfreesboro Pike location at MNPD headquarters, that's where the FUSUS facility is housed. They are more than willing and are accommodating of people being able to come out, tour. And so I would encourage anybody who has continued questions to do that, to reach out to your council members, to talk to our institutions. Because one thing that I will say is I very much appreciate the transparency with which this entire process has been conducted. I think that that is a step in the right direction. I think there's definitely significantly more that can and needs to be done to be more transparent and to build that trust within our communities. But I think that those two things are something that I would encourage every community member to do.
All right, admit it. It's time to replace your not-so-trusty old boots. You know the best place to shop for quality, handcrafted men's and women's boots is at your local Tacova store, at the Mall at Green Hills, or on Broadway by the Ryman. That's right, you now have 2 locations to choose from, so stop by and grab a cold one as you peruse. Tacova's Nashville is at your service. It's always a challenge to find boots that fit well and can survive a night walking around town, but you can find your perfectly fitted dream boots with the help of Tacova's expert staff. Your new Western boots can elevate a casual look or add a refined flair to any outfit. Everyone will be asking where you got your sick boots, but I won't be asking because I know they must be Tacovas. That's TECOVAS.com. Don't go gently, y'all.
Well, speaking then of transparency and trust with MNPD, let's get into the CRB.
Yes.
Oh, I love all the acronyms today.
I know. Drink if you hear an acronym. Your coffee.
Yes.
So Nashville's Community Review Board voted unanimously Monday night to approve a memorandum of understanding with the Metro Nashville Police Department. This is a very big deal, right? And it's been a long time coming. This was a year in the making, and the MOU details how these 2 agencies will work together on police oversight. Whitney, can you just remind our listeners about how the Community Oversight Board was disbanded by state law and then reconstructed into the CRB?
Yes, it's my favorite story to tell.
It's so confusing, and I know you're going to do a great job for our listeners.
Thank you. For anyone who hasn't kept up with this, here's the short version. Nashville voters created the Community Oversight Board via a charter amendment in 2018. It was designed to give residents a voice in our local policing process, and it came in the wake of the police killing 2 young Black men here in Nashville. But in 2023, the Republican-led state legislature passed a law that effectively dismantled the COB by stripping it of investigative power. Advocates were and are furious that Metro Legal did not try to challenge that law because it only applied to us here in Nashville. It's not like there were other community oversight boards across the state running rampant. It was just designed to target us. And we had challenged similar laws that just targeted us. The attempt to shrink our council size in half, and the state trying to take over our airport authority. So Metro Legal challenged on those, did not challenge on the Community Oversight Board. So in the meantime, the COB was reconstituted as the Community Review Board last fall. They've been unable to do any work since then due to the lack of a memorandum of understanding. Jeff, this process was extremely drawn out. We know how frustrated the CRB has been for months. And we spoke to Alicia Haddock about it on the show earlier this year. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's saying everybody got everything they wanted, and it feels like we're on the upside. Do you know what changed?
I do not. And so this is a process that a lot of people have been engaged in. I've been working with the CRB since taking office last year. The operation and the cooperation between MNPD and the CRB is something that, one, is vitally important for our city, to ensure that there is trust. And I think that it's incredibly important to ensure civilian oversight of institutions that are policing us, that have the ability to wield deadly force within our community. One thing that I will note within this is that there still is a ongoing independent investigation into MNPD and the allegations of interference with state law and lobbying against the will of the citizens of Nashville to reverse course in state law, have us preempted, and strip the COB of their authority.
Right. This happened earlier this year where a former MNPD officer had leaked their complaint that allegedly the call was coming from inside the house, right? Like,
yes.
Nashville police officers worked with the state to dismantle our oversight board. I'm glad to hear the investigation is still going on. Has anything leaked from that? Do we know about any progress?
Nothing has leaked from it. I highly doubt that anything is going to leak from it. The investigation is being led by the law firm of Butler Snow and Ed Stanton, who is a former U.S. attorney. I've worked pretty closely with Ed on issues specifically relating to police oversight and investigating police departments and ensuring their compliance with consent decrees. So they have my full confidence in conducting their investigation and reporting their findings back to us. We don't have any timelines as of right now, and we want to make sure that we are not doing anything that could impact or interfere in that investigation. But what I will say is that there's definitely an appetite on council for us to get those findings in a timely manner. This is a really crucial issue for us because I will say in my own professional capacity, I've worked really closely with the COB during my time at the public defender's office. I had a client who had deadly force used against them. The COB found that the use of force was unmerited and unlawful. And but for that independent investigation, my client would not have received the information and the justice that was merited for him. So I'm glad that we are taking steps forward, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Well, it sounds like you're hopeful, though.
Yes, yeah. So I would definitely say that I'm hopeful. There's a broad base of folks who are willing and who are engaged in this process, myself and a number of other council members included. So I am hopeful that we are taking those concrete steps in the right direction, and that we'll be able to continue doing substantive work.
Well, on to another acronym. So the mayor filed his capital spending plan, CSP, for 2025 on Wednesday, proposing $527 million in projects and improvements. The National Banner has a really great breakdown of the highlights. Whitney, would you mind going through them as fast as you can? Thank you.
Yes, you know I love to go through things fast. So the highlights, $103.6 million for bridges, roads, sidewalks, and other infrastructure, including $6.8 million for Vision Zero and other safety projects. Vision Zero is where we try to have people stop getting killed by cars. $6 million for sidewalks and $33.5 million for East Bank infrastructure work to build Nashville's next great neighborhood in what is currently a junk pile. $88 million for continued work on the new Juvenile Justice Center, or as I like to call it, Kid Jail. $98.4 million for Metro Nashville Public Schools, including $10 million for the first phase of renovations at Glencliff High School, which I know a lot of people are really excited about, and continued spending on solar projects and turf field installation. And then $27.8 million for Metro Parks facilities, maintenance, and other projects, which sounds like a great investment into one of our best resources in town. The Nashville Scene also pointed out that, quote, nearly a quarter of O'Connell's plan continues funding major projects started under previous administrations. Kid Jail is one of those. Jeff, this plan will come before council for approval, so we'd love to get your thoughts on what's being proposed. I know you've only had a couple days to sit with it.
Yes. So received the email Wednesday while I was at my day job. So yeah, have had a little bit of time to digest it, and I'm encouraged by some of the funding projects. So one of the main issues that we face here in District 25, where I represent, is a lack of walkability and infrastructure. One of the things that I monitor pretty closely is Davidson County's rate of pedestrian deaths, and the fact that I've got my entire family lives here in District 25. My older sister has a 2-year-old daughter and a dog who they like to go out on walks regularly. And so one of the things that I firmly believe is that people, one, shouldn't have to get in their car to go to a park to walk. And two, you shouldn't have to risk your life to go check your mail, to take out your trash, or to even just go on a walk down your street. I'm encouraged by our continued commitment and investment in that pedestrian-centered infrastructure and in sidewalks and walkability, because I view it not only as a public safety, but also a public health issue, because what we see is that having access to sidewalks and walkable neighborhoods is one of those social determinants of health, which help to predict and determine folks' medium-term and long-term health outcomes. I'm encouraged by that. I'm encouraged by our investment in parks, in our schools, and in our libraries, which I believe our libraries are one of our most underutilized resources. I love our public library. And so I'm encouraged by all of those areas of investment. Obviously, there's areas where I think that we can work with the mayor's office to be more robust in our commitment to the folks of the city and making sure that, again, we're investing in those things that people need, that are investing in those quality of life issues that touch people's everyday lives.
Can I give you a suggestion of where I'd like you to start?
Absolutely.
Because something else in the banner story caught my eye. It was when they mentioned that O'Connell's proposal also includes $5 million for improvements at Nashville's convenience centers, so recycling centers. That sounds great. $5 million for a construction of a new Hadley Park library branch. That's amazing. And $14 million for the design and construction of a vehicle impound lot for the police department. Is that some money that we could maybe shuffle around? Maybe repurpose an existing parking lot? We're not short on those.
Yeah, we have a lot of surface parking here in Nashville. And I think that is something that absolutely, I think that there's nothing that is concrete that is given. So those are conversations that are gonna have to happen and have to continue. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. That'd be great. Thanks. I'll tell Sean Parker, my council member, too.
Yes.
It's not on you. You don't represent me.
Yeah, my mom texted me this morning. Have y'all done an episode on parking yet?
We love Linda.
Well, okay. So these are all good and somewhat bad issues that are taking place, but mainly good, right? Are we staying optimistic here?
We do try to stay optimistic. We're happy that people came out and used their voice. We're happy that the CRB finally got an MOU.
Mm-hmm.
We're happy about so many of the things in the CSP. Almost all of the acronyms are good.
Right. Yes, truly. We're going into full-on winter. Sunset tonight is at 4:30, folks.
That's great.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
So how do you all fight the darkness? That's what I would like to know as we close up shop here.
Well, I put my Christmas lights up on Wednesday for exactly this reason. They are not Christmas lights. They are standard time light therapy devices. And they will remain up probably through February. I can't handle it. It's awful.
Oh, no, you're one of those that leaves up your Christmas lights way past.
Yeah, they're not Christmas lights. They're saving my life.
Okay.
I
No,
get
that
the
makes
sad.
sense. Okay.
I get the sad, Marie.
Yeah, I understand. And those Christmas lights really do bring me a lot of joy. Jeff, what's bringing you joy?
that is a grand question. So, you got to find it in the little things, right? In finding a new food truck that you've never noticed before.
Yes.
Well, so one of the things that I've really been reflective on is that I feel like I'm the type of person that consistently, puts the weight of the world on my shoulders, the weight of my community on my shoulders. And I've been feeling that weight very heavily since the November election. But I was sitting down having a conversation with my partner last night about a new tattoo idea that I had.
Ooh.
Yes. So we're gonna get it a little into the weeds because it's a little convoluted. So one of my favorite bands is The Dip. They come to Nashville regularly. They're like a jazz funk fusion band out of Washington State. One of their songs, and one of my favorite songs of theirs, is called Atlas. Atlas is just a song about how it's not all on you. You don't have to put the weight of the world on your shoulders because you're not in this alone. And something that Councilmember Sepulveda said on Tuesday that resonates is that sometimes being on council can be a very isolating thing because it's folks are coming to you with issues that they're facing in the community and they are relying on you to take those issues on and to solve them. But sitting down and having that conversation last night and reminding myself that we have a full community of people who are around us, who are going to uplift us and be in this fight with us, is something that I'm finding joy in and finding a bit of respite. Because I think that regardless of who you are or where you are in life, we all require a lot of ourselves. And so it's really important to remind ourselves that we're not in this alone and to remember that one of the best things that we can do for ourselves is to continue to be in community with people. Whenever I'm feeling stressed out, whenever I've got a lot on my plate, I tend to turn inside of myself and just be like, step back, everybody, I got this. Mm-hmm. Being reminded that we are in a community and that we have to be in community is something that I'm finding joy in getting back to. So, yeah.
So wait, what tattoo are you going to get?
So I'm thinking about getting a tattoo of Atlas, the Greek mythological person. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
it.
that.
I just got a new tattoo. It's a plant growing out of a skull because I'm dead inside, but I'm still happy.
But we still have a lot of growing to do, right?
Yep. All right, Marie, what are you? I know exactly what you're excited about and what's helping you with your darkness. Go for it, baby.
Well, I am so excited. Friend of the pod, Alex Wong's brand new album that we have been waiting for years now. It's called Permission. It comes out today.
Woo-woo!
Just a reminder, Alex Wong is a second-generation Chinese American, and his full album is about his struggles with his cultural identity. He's having his album release party on Sunday that I'm attending, but I'm so sorry, it's sold out. But
cool,
that's definitely where I'm going to find community and just visit with friends and just celebrate this album that we've been waiting for. It was kind of delayed because of the pandemic, so this is just so exciting. So please listen to it. It's out today. It's called Permission.
We'll link to our episode with Alex in our show notes so y'all can go back and hear him in his own words describing what that's all about. Jeff, gosh, thank you so much for coming on. First time guest, knocked it out of the park. You're welcome back anytime.
Absolutely. I will take you up on that.
And keep fighting the good fight. You are not alone.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you all so much.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. Our executive producer is Whitney Pasterek. Our producer this week is Zoe Colkin. Our Hey Nashville newsletter editor is Margaret Kingsbury, and our theme music is by Prof Jenkins. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!